Welcome to this session. In this session, we will discuss one of the servlet program, how it accepts the parameters from the client, processes it, and gives the response back to the client. So before we start with the program, so let us go through the IDE which we are going to use for this particular program, that is Netbeans. So this Netbeans is nothing but is in one of the organization which is owned by the Oracle Corporation. Okay, it is an IDE. What you mean by IDE? Integrated Development Environment. So where you can develop the programs, you can debug, you can run, everything will be available on a one touch. So Netbeans is an organization which is been owned by your Oracle Corporation, and in the market latest version of your Netbeans will be the 11.3, or you can say it as 12, which was released in the February 3 2020. Fine. Okay, so this is how your Netbeans IDE looks like. So there is a latest version, so this what we are using is around 6.5 or 7. So latest version of our Netbeans available is the 12. Fine. Okay, so this is the first window when you open the Netbeans. Then to create applications or something, so first we have to go to the file. In the menu bar you will find the different menus. Go to file menu. So there you will find a new project. To create a new project, click on that, or else you can use Control Shift N, which will create a new project for you. It's a shortcut. So then it moves to which are all kinds of projects are available. So what type of projects you can create using which the Netbeans will be working on. So you can create the Java applications, you can create the web applications. Fine. So in case of your Java web, means the web applications in case of your Java will be your servlets, JSP, such kind of applications you can create. Fine. Then Java EE, it is saying that Java enterprise editions, where the most of the banking applications which are more secured in nature will be developed using that. Then Java ME, the micro edition or mobile edition, you can say it as PHP, Ruby, C++, any kind of projects you can create using the Netbeans IDE. Okay, so here we are mainly interested in your servlet, and also we will create Java web applications, because here the client is involved which is going to send a request, and the servlet is involved which processes that data and sends a request back to the client. So because of that we need to create a web application. So select in that choose project object, select Java web, in that select web application, click on next. Then you will find the name and the location of that particular project in this particular window. Give the proper name of the project, and by default it has chosen the Netbeans folder where your all files will be stored. If you want, you can change that particular this using the project location. You can change the path also. Click on next. Then in this particular window, so the server and the settings will be allowed. So here you can use the different types of servers. So we are using the Glassfish server right now. Okay, so click on next. So once the server settings is done, so then it will move to the next window where you can use the any kind of a framework which is required. So they have mentioned, so what you can say, Java server faces, then it will be Spring, then it will be Structs, Hibernate, any kind of framework if you wanted to use, you can use. So right now it is not required, we will not select any of the framework. Then click on finish. Once your project got created, and the left most side of your window of Netbeans, you are going to get projects under which the project what you have created will be there with that particular name. Then the default packages, then test package, library, test libraries, related information will be displayed in that particular project file. So now we are going to create what you can say, the one HTML that which is acting as on a client, and we are creating one servlet which is acting as an server side this thing. So you can go to the source package. So it is not a better practice to put your servlets in a default package, so better you create a new package for that. So directly right click on your project or the package where you wanted to put your servlets, right click on that. Then you are going to observe that a new option will be displayed. You click on that new option and you are going to get a different thing, files or something what you need to create, where you will find the servlet. So go right click on your project, new servlet. So your servlet window will be there. In that servlet window, give the proper name to the servlet. So here they have taken a demo servlet, so it's the proper this thing will be, name will be given, the in which project, the location, resource package. So if you have chosen a different package, it will give that particular package name here. Then so here you can observe that it is highly recommended that do not place the Java classes in a default package. So better you create a new package for that. Then configuration, and so here for servlets you can observe that add information to the deployment descriptor or web.xml file. What is this web.xml file or the deployment descriptors? So the deployment descriptors, it is a part of your creation of the servlet. It is must and should for a particular servlet. Why? Because what is the role played by your deployment descriptors are, web applications deployment descriptor describes the classes, you can say resources, the configuration, mapping of that servlet, and how the web server uses them to serve the web request. Okay, when the web server receives a request from the application, it uses the deployment descriptor to map the URL of the request and then code it to the particular request or something. So for all these purposes, web.xml file is very must and should required for your servlet. Okay, so once you created the particular servlet with the web.xml file, so your this thing will be created, and that web.xml file will be there in a what you can say, the var file. So in a var file means it's a web archive of your particular projects. In a projects var file, that is web archive file, where you will find the web.inf or web.xml file what we have created. So your servlet got created. Now then we will create in the same way, we can create a HTML also. So right click on your project, go to new, and in new you will find an option called HTML, where HTML is acting as a client. Click on HTML. So give the proper name for that particular HTML, then your HTML file will be created. So right now your client part, so basically what happens, the client resides in some other systems or something, and your server resides on some other system. For example, now we are sending a request to the Google for something, so your system is acting as a client and the Google is acting as a server, which serves that request and processes and gives the result to you as an this thing. So here both our client and server are on a same machine. Okay, fine. So HTML is created and servlet is created. So this is what you are observing is an web.xml file, where you can observe the name of the servlet has been mentioned, a mapping is been done, and the session time session mentioned for that. Everything related which is required to access that particular servlet is been mentioned in this web.xml file. Okay, so this is the demo. Write a Java servlet program to implement a dynamic HTML using servlet. So username and password should be accepted using HTML and displayed using the generic servlet. So this is very simple program. So where we are sending, for example, they have taken a username and password, so it can be anything. Fine, it can be anything. So whenever suppose for example a job holder, whenever who requires a job or something, if he is putting some applications for this job or something, so the complete details will be asked. Okay, in that, so it will be the name, it will be the address, pin code, phone number, Aadhaar card, whatever it may be, the information which is required from that particular company. So it can be sent in that format. So for example, here we have taken for the demonstration purpose, it will be your name and password. Okay, so the HTML is going to send the username and password. Your servlet has to accept it and display it using the same. Okay, in the previous session, okay, so we have already know what you mean by generic servlet and what you mean by the HTTP servlet we have discussed in the theory part. So HTML, this is the client side, client code. So where your HTML we have created, the main part starts from the form. the form, action, and the new servlet. The servlet what we are going to create is going to be mentioned. It is like an address for that particular servlet, name of the servlet what we are going to create it. Then the method is equal to get. So this by default method is equal to get. So there are different type of methods through which you can send the parameters and parameters values from client to the servlet. So by default the method will be get. Okay, so this you can observe the basic HTML skeleton here. HTML head title, where you can provide the title. Head means it will be a header part of your HTML. Okay, then the body part, so where in the body part we are mentioning the form. The action is an attribute, action, the name of that particular servlet. Then method is equal to get. So here you can observe the username and password which we need to send from the client side. So the username they have mentioned some value, and the password they have mentioned and some of the value. So username and the password with these two arguments, or these two parameters which we need to send from the client. So using one submit button I am putting it to the server side. So once you click on login button, once you click on submit button of your input type, you can say that. So once you log in, it directly goes to your action part of your HTML. So in that action part we have mentioned a new servlet. In the new servlet, so directly it will go to the new servlet. So here you can observe this is the server part, this is the server part. After importing all these this thing, so you can observe here public class new servlet. So this is the class what we have mentioned in this action part of your HTML. So if it is there is a difference between this, you are unable to locate that particular servlet, and it will end up with one kind of an error, you can say it as. So it must be same how we have mentioned in action part of your HTML. So you can observe here we have created a class called new servlet which extends the generic servlet. Fine. And in after that in the new servlet there is a public wide service method which extends generic servlet. In generic servlet we do have one request object and one response object which may throw an IO exception. Fine. And here you can observe anything what we are going to this thing get from the client to receive it from the server side. To receive it from the server side we do have a methods. So here you can observe the get parameter method. In a theory session we had discussed the different methods which receives the attribute values from the client. So which is nothing but your get parameter values, get parameter names, get parameter map. There are different types of methods to receive the client request. So here the get parameter is suitable wherever we do have a limited number of parameters to be sent. So here we are using only the username and password. It is better to use get request the get parameter. If it is there is enormous number of data to be sent from the what you can say from client to the server as a part of attribute or something, so 100 times we cannot use the get parameter. In that case get parameter names will be used. We will discuss in the next part of this particular video. So now we are using the get parameters. You can observe here. So one request object and one is response object of generic servlet what we have created. So UN is nothing but your username and password we have taken. Request dot get parameter username, you can observe here we are sending the username from the client. We have received this using get parameter method, and you can observe the another parameter also called the password which is received using the password and what we have stored in the UN and pass, that is username and password. So response dot set content type, that text or HTML. So this set content type is the type of the output you are getting in that particular format. What type of output you are getting? See, suppose for example if you type PDF for J2Ee in a Google for example, so directly you are going to get a PDF related to your J2Ee subject. If you type the PPT for J2Ee or something, so you are going to get a PPT out of in that format. So that is how, so this set content type will be working. In what format you are going to get the response back from the server. So it may be in the form of text, it may be in the form of PDF, it may be in the form of PPT, it may be in the form of HTML. It can be any music file, zip file, in any format. So what you are requested for, in the same format you are going to get the output. So that is been set by the set content type. So in why the response, because you are going to get the response in that particular format. So here response dot set content type text or HTML. So here when I am running that particular HTML, I will be getting my output either in the form of text or HTML. Okay, then we have a streamer class, that is the print writer and response dot get writer. In the theory session we had discussed what you mean by print writer and what you mean by the get writer. We have created the object of that particular print writer class to print some values. Okay, you can observe here we have taken the HTML as a part of this thing, so we are getting our output in the form of HTML. Okay, we have created the object of print writer, so using which that you can observe here out is the object of your print writer class, out dot println. So we are going to print in the form of HTML. So this is nothing but your username that we are printing using the out dot println. The same thing we are passing that printing the password also. Fine. Okay, next comes the another way of getting the parameters. So right now we discussed, that is get parameter. So get parameter, where there is a limited number of parameters are there, so this get parameter will be very suitable. Suppose for example there are 100 parameters which to be sent from client to server. So name, address, permanent address, pin code, okay, and then your Aadhaar card, there are lot many things to be sent. So in that case we cannot use 100 times get parameter. Instead of that we will be using get parameters names. This get parameter names method will help us to access all the parameters at a one stretch with the help of enumerations. Okay, what is this enumeration? Enumeration is nothing but a set of named integer constants, or constants you can say it as. Fine. So or in other words you can say it as, it is an type that contains a fixed set of constants. Okay, if you wanted to access all the constant at one stretch or one by one, if you wanted to access, you can go for the enumeration. Okay, so using the enumerations, your get parameter names will access all the parameters at one stretch one by one. So no need to use that many times get parameter method. Okay, you can observe in this code enumeration we have created the object of enumeration as e request dot get parameter names. While so you do find two types of method here, has more elements and next element. Okay, so what is this has more elements returns? While e dot has more elements means, so suppose if I am accessing 10 elements, so first element will be accessed from the enumeration set of constants, okay, till there are 9 elements to be accessed. This has more elements method returns true. Okay, so then it comes to the inner part of that while loop. So in P1 you can observe e dot next element. This next element method points to the next element in that particular enumeration which is to be accessed. Right now we have accessed the first elements, so your has more elements returns true. Then next element points to the second element of that enumeration. Again it goes to the has more elements till 8 elements has to be accessed in that format. Okay, again it comes into the loop, next element points to the next loop, again it goes to the has more elements, it returns true, then third element, then fourth element, then fifth element, until the 10th element. It accesses all the elements of that enumeration. Once it accesses the 10th element in that enumeration, it returns false, then it will directly come out of that loop. So this is how we are going to access all the constants which are present in that enumeration, and one by one, so it will be accessed all. So no need to use that many times of your get parameter, get parameter, get parameter. Instead of that we will be using get parameter names. So this is how your client has sent the request. So using the get parameter or the different types of method, your servlet has receives those values. Using out or println we are going to print it. Thank you for watching.